what's going on, everyone? This is Anderson.
Christian here.
And you're about to enter
111.
What's good, do that?
What's up, man? Long time no see.
I know, seriously, it's felt like...
Like a couple days.
Yeah. So what do we got on this episode?
So this episode, it's a good one. We're going to be talking about sound frequencies and how they affect the human body in multiple ways than one.
Wow. So sound is an important part of life. For me, music.
Oh, definitely.
I am, like, life to me always has a soundtrack. Mm-hmm. No matter if it's good or it's bad. You know, like when you have like a bad breakup, for some reason you just always go to the most like depressing songs. Like
depending on the day.
Yeah, and then it's just, I don't know. I guess it's just a relatable thing.
Yeah,
the music helps kind of ease your pain a little bit. But music has always been pivotal to me, especially when it comes to like film. When it comes to editing, anything visual. Anytime I need to think, I always go to music. Yeah. Every time.
Creative space.
Yes. Because, if somebody goes, hey, what's your creative process? I'm like, well, usually it starts with music. Usually music will always bring a visual element into my headspace. I mean,
you're an editor, so that's like what you'll hear from most editors is like,
it's like 15% of actually cutting and clipping clips. It's like 80% of like searching for the right soundtrack to go with your piece. And I really don't know how like Hollywood does it when they get a composer. And the composer, like they're filming a movie that they have no soundtrack to. Mm-hmm. The director might have like an idea of what he wants the theme or the thematic element to be. But it's not until it's like you hire this composer who understands your story and decides to just like create this masterful, scoring soundtrack.
Have you seen those clips where you'll have like an iconic scene from a movie with, the selected track that editor chose, but then they'll change it. There's like a channel I follow on IG and like they'll change the song to change the mood of the scene, and it's crazy. Like it affects like how you feel about that scene. I forget what the name of the film page is. But yeah, it's really cool. I mean, sound has a super effective way of, changing your mood,
drawing
what
out
you
emotions.
See. Definitely.
Like a film that really hit me was Slumdog Millionaire. Just every element of music from that it just tugged at my my heart. Like every time it was just like when he saw Latika, it would always just be like this like dreamy like right, and then just it just made you feel like it was just you're in the character's shoes. It was amazing. It just I just love scores. A lot of the times I don't listen to just music that has like lyrics, and a lot of the times I listen to movie soundtracks. That's how I used to write a bunch of my scripts. I used to listen to like certain soundtracks, and I'd be like, writing this entire story, and then when I go to film it, I'm like, well, shoot.
I feel like that's the first thing like you do when you're about to like. I mean, with anything, like most people before they get in the shower, what do? They try to find a track to listen to before you clean the house. Like it sets the tone for what you're about to get into, and especially in a creative space, for sure. Yeah,
and it just elevates your mood, when you go to the gym, you're like, some people love like their death metal, and just like, and they're just like, and they're getting like crazy amped. Yeah. For me, I can't. I tried, and it just ends up giving me a headache whenever I listen to death metal. I know it's ridiculous, right? But for me, hip hop kind of like gets me going, especially when I'm like lifting. I don't know why. It's just like the beats, and so yeah, music and sound, it is important. It's like even in a meditative element, you can go and sit next to the water, and it's like therapy.
The sound of rain.
It's free therapy.
The sound of rain every time is the most soothing thing, honestly.
Yeah. So that's your thing, rain?
Oh, yeah. Rain, thunderstorms. I mean, you see so many tracks, you know. One of the meditation tracks I listen to, it has a nice, like, tune and melody, but there's also a very light rain track attached to it. And I think the two combined, it helps me sleep.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
For me, it's I love the sound of wind, and I think for me, anyways, the reason why I love the idea or the sound of wind is because like you can't physically see it. You can see rain, you can see you can see like water, you can see ocean, but you can't see the wind. The only way you know that there's wind is because everything else around you is moving.
Now, do you remember when we went to go try the pods?
Yeah.
The isolation tanks. Mm-hmm. And we were looking through the
soundtracks.
Didn't one of them have like seagulls in the background? And I was like, who would want to listen to seagulls as
you're trying to relax?
Like, no, skip, next. Yeah.
It's probably because people like, the beach setting. So they're just like, I want to imagine them laying on the sand at the beach.
That would just stress me out. Just too many seagulls around me? No. Sorry. Not today.
No. But no, that for me that's what does it, is the wind. It just I love the sound of it, and it's therapy. I mean, even like when you're sitting by the ocean, listening to the waves crash, it just really is returning to nature, and nature is made up of sound. Like, so. But we're gonna get into a more pseudoscience or a different side of sound.
What you gonna teach me today, Anderson?
All right,
please,
so
I'm ready.
So, and mind you, everybody listening, this is more of an entertainment-based channel. We do not claim that we're scientists.
We are not professionals.
We are not at all. This is just from personal experiences, and then just the internet. But who believes in the internet, anyways?
It's not a real thing at all.
So my journey into like meditation and like really getting knee deep into changing the way I feel mentally, physically, started with meditation tracks. Like I've always been harping everybody around me on like, you should listen to these meditation tracks. They will help relax you, ease you of anxiety, get you ready for bed, prepare you in the morning.
Meditation tracks is where it's at.
Meditation tracks have become the lazy man's way of getting into that entranced state. And when I first started listening to meditation tracks, I stumbled upon this gentleman named Robert Monroe.
Robert Monroe?
Robert Monroe. He was the founder of the Monroe Institute, and he had these tapes back in the, I believe, the 70s or the 80s, maybe even further back into the 60s. I don't remember. I don't recall, but they were called HemiSync.
HemiSync.
And these HemiSync, the HemiSync technology is based off of taking one sound frequency and then offsetting it slightly from the other one in order to sync up your brain. So it's not just like your brain is listening to the same sound. It's two different frequencies, almost like the same sound, right? One sound might be like whoop, 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 whoop. The other one might be like weep, weep, weep.
Doesn't sound annoying at all.
No, it's not. And then when you place it in one ear, that's what you hear. The other one, that's what you hear. But then when you place them like together, it just goes, that weep and the wop just go, so then it's all of a sudden synced up.
Okay.
So it basically entrances your brain waves to become one. Yeah. So you're using your entire brain in order to get into a relaxed state.
Are we not always using our entire brain?
They say we only use about 10 to 13%.
Oh, gosh. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Some less than that.
So with meditation, I believe it opens up your brain's activity to maybe 15 to 20%. You know, I feel like it's had tremendous effect on my memory recall, my dream recall.
Oh gosh, I need that.
Yeah. So I know everybody's always like, "How do you remember that? That's so crazy." And I'm like,
I'm constantly telling you that, like, Anderson, Christian, do you remember that one time you wore that red shirt to that event that we went to at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday? No, I don't, Anderson. I don't remember that at all.
I think the recent one was, so it's crazy because when we first went to watch a 4DX film, the movie theater was Hoyt. It was Hoyt, Hoyt. It was in Santiago, Chile. And you're like, how do you remember the theater's name?
That was like 4 years ago. How did you remember the name of the theater? I erased that from my memory instantly, like the next day probably. But
the funny thing is, I don't have the best short-term memory.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. I have a decent, I have a decent memory, but sometimes I think I have so much going on that my short term gets even shortened.
Okay.
But my long term, I can remember things that we did for my 31st birthday or my 60th. But that's fair to say for everybody. You always remember the
experiences,
the pivotal milestone moments. Yeah. If I go, do you remember your graduation from high school? It's oh yeah, because it was a pivotal moment. You could probably recall what you did, getting ready, what you did after, But it's funny that we slip into forgetting your everyday, because your brain, I think, kind of throws out what's not useful anymore.
Yeah.
And
you're constantly hearing more people, I know at least I am, more people say that oh, I cannot hold on to useless information because I'm this age and I only want to remember this. So I think, that's pretty, but so HemiSync is supposed to help with So
HemiSync is weird because it's not really, okay, so my extent of HemiSync was I tried one of their soundtracks and it was kind of weird. It made me create a visual bubble around myself, right? It basically protected you in the astral.
Oh, the astral
plane.
Okay.
And the reason why you had to do that was in the event that you ran into some weird thing, because Robert Monroe, A Brief History, is he was having a lot of out of body experiences. So he's actually the one who, I believe, coined the term out of body experiences.
Out of body experience was coined by this
yes.
Monroe guy? Yeah,
and so he developed this program with physicists and not physicists. What did I say? I read it earlier. He had a group of neuro not surgeons, but I forget, but he had a bunch of high level doctors and scientists working to develop this program with him, because what they were using it for was more for performance and enhancement. Think of it like this. It's almost back then, this was how they queued up into the Matrix. Do you remember the scene from the Matrix where they're like, hey, teach him kung fu?
Yeah.
And he just plugs in, he's like, and all of a sudden he's like, I know kung fu.
Yeah.
Or was it kung fu or karate? I forget what he says.
Think it's kung fu.
But he's like, I know kung fu. So imagine back in the 60s and 70s, this was their version of it, where they could basically enhance performance, whether it be memory or to learn and retain more memory things, or you know what I mean, just for research, for study.
Yeah.
And that's how it kind of started. And I then went into binaural beats, which is stemming from that same process, that same technology, where it's taking two different sounds at different hertz, different frequencies, and then when you sync them up, because one ear is playing a different, a +1 and the other one's a -1, when you put your headphones in, they sync up.
Yeah.
And now it's it gets you in trance. Whereas like if you think of it like this, a good example is, do you remember like ever watching any kind of programs where they'd always have like, you know, like Native Americans like around a fire, like doing some kind of chant or like drumming, like dum 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 dum. So the reason why you would do that is because either the shaman or whoever the medicine doctor was, they needed to get into a meditative state because they believed that they could transport themselves out of body to look at those who were sick to see what was wrong with them.
Okay.
And when they'd see what was wrong with them, that's how they would say like, oh, you have, you know, digestive problems because I can see your gut is full of shit.
I can see you haven't digested a meal in weeks.
But you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's the same concept if you think about it. You're using a binaural beat to sync up your brain and to basically transform its brain state. So you can go into your beta, alpha, delta, theta. And then they even have frequencies that go into like the gamma and the iso, epsilon. And like those are the ones that I remember researching, and they're like, these ones you might not want to like dabble in too long because you might mess up your eardrums because of the frequency, and the beat is just it can be too much for your eardrums to handle.
Okay.
So you'd have to listen to them in like small dosages.
So they would have like a negative effect on you?
They could.
Yeah.
Like I don't recall ever having that happen to me, but I did read some people saying like, yeah, it kind of messed up their hearing. I had a few tracks that I found that were like
stumbled upon.
There would be like one that was called what was it called? It was like stopping time. It was like stopping time, and you would listen to it, and it felt like everything slowed down.
Like, would it put you to sleep, and you were like forgetting?
No, it wouldn't put you to sleep because the frequency was so fast, the beat, I mean, that you'd be relaxed, but at the same time you would be like extremely focused. So it would basically have you feel like a sense of, what is the word? It's like, it's when everything just stops and like it's almost like frozen in time.
Okay.
You know what I mean? There's a word for it. It'll come. It'll. I know it will.
Ask the universe, Anderson, to give you the word.
What is that word?
That
Universe.
what
is the word I'm looking for?
I just want to note that Anderson is a big advocate of asking the universe for things, and it shall give. And you know what? It's worked.
It's God.
It works quite often, is what I'll say. I'll be like, universe, where are my car keys? And oh, there it is.
Oh my gosh, they're around my neck the whole time. So
I know what you mean.
Yeah, you can ask all my friends and family. I've recommended so many times to listen to certain different
Well, you're the one that got
binaural
me into
beats.
binaural beats, I remember, because I don't remember what issue I was having, and then I think I found some on YouTube, and I remember you telling me like, oh no, you don't want to listen to that frequency because like that, it's not going to help you in that way, so you want to listen to this. And that's kind of like when I got introduced to like, you know, meditation tracks, and you know how certain healing tracks can also help you.
Yeah.
And you're constantly recommending them. Sometimes I'll listen to them, Anderson. I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes I won't.
Yeah.
I know you know this because you'll be like, Christian, did you listen to that healing track for your neck? No, I'm still in pain.
And it'd be like,
You could have been healed by now.
yeah. No,
I think it's cool.
I really attribute a lot of like my overall well-being to listening to a lot of these soundtracks, you know. Some of them are guided meditation tracks that really get you into a very deep state. Sometimes people don't like that, you know, like I recommended to my fiance, you know, to listen to some of these different guided meditations, and she's just like, I can't fall asleep to somebody being like, as you close your eyes,
I don't think I could either.
imagine a white light forming from the root of your feet. And you're like, what does that even look like? You know, so I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
But you do want to practice using guided visual meditations because it helps with your visualization. Visualization is another big one that can help, you know, like
I would
heal
assume that
elements.
could help you, like say you're gonna try to meditate. So I don't like meditate like one could like in the middle of the day. I'll do it more so right before I go to sleep.
Yeah.
But I guess like a guided meditation track could be useful because I don't think I could fall asleep to someone talking to me like that.
Yeah.
But maybe like at 5 o'clock in the afternoon after work, you know, you come home and you just kind of like put yourself in that trance.
Yeah, and you got to think like, if this stuff didn't work, right? Or if this stuff didn't have any validity to it or truth to it, why would there be so many apps now, like Calm or
Center.
Yes, there's so many apps now that are catered to helping, you know, the world release anxiety and, you know, their issues by just listening to a soundtrack.
Yeah.
Because it has been proven to help subside a lot of these ailments, right? I know this is funny, but anytime I would drink and it'd be a heavy night of drinking, if I didn't listen to my meditation tracks, I would wake up feeling disgustingly sick.
Really?
Oh my gosh. So people used to be like, dude, how are you not sick? You drank so much.
How does everyone not know that the cure to a hangover is listening to a meditation
Because
track?
look, if you think of it like this, if you think of like your brain wave has like a pain frequency.
Yeah.
And you're listening to a pain reducing frequency, you're basically canceling out that frequency that's telling your body you're sick. Get it?
Mind over matter, everyone.
So I would listen to, I believe it was Holosync. And Holosync was produced by Dr. Andrew Weil, I believe. And it was just really beautiful, like nature sounds, like whales in the Pacific, and you just listen to like, you know, a slew of these different soundtracks being in a rainforest, and I would just listen to it, and I'd wake up and I'd be like, I don't feel sick, I feel good. So note to self: try to, you know, immerse yourself into some more guided meditations and then some of those soundtracks because they definitely, you know, helped me. And I can't tell you how many times I recommend it to everyone. You know, anybody that's like, oh, I'm so sick, or I feel bad, or
Literally almost any time you're not feeling well, Anderson will be like, hey, I have a track for that. I have a track for that here. I'll send it to you.
Yes. Yeah. And it's even, they even have tracks not just for like the purpose of healing, but they also have tracks to also aid in focus and concentration, you know, because sometimes your mind is always wandering or having like mind chatter, right? And you're just like, oh man, I can't focus. So there are certain, if you get a track that's like beta brain waves, because the beta wave is like the fastest like synapse wave, you know, if you look at a sine wave, it's the fastest one because it's like high alert. So when you're listening to a track that's basically inducing or entrancing your brain waves to that level of like...
So can you explain to like me, and I know probably other listeners, because you mentioned like there's alpha, beta, theta.
Right.
Can you kind of like go into what each one of those...
Okay, so non-scientific info.
In your own words.
In my own words, okay, because I forget what the frequency, etc. It's a lot. But beta, think of beta as like very short form brain movement, brain activity. So this is like, for instance, if you are a race car driver or you're having to perform at like your highest level and your heart rate's like boom, 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 like you are going to be at a beta brainwave state. So it's almost like everything's so fast that it becomes slow because you're so like, what's the word? You're just, your reaction time is like extremely fast.
Okay.
Right? And then alpha, think of alpha like it's chill, but you're still very mindful of things. Alpha is like a relaxed state. Pretty good awareness. Okay. Delta is deep sleep. That's when you're like your brain waves go really slow. Like the sine wave shows that it goes extremely slow, really high, really long, and that's because your body is you go into that state in order for your body to heal. Like,
is that like only like when you're in like REM sleep or just like?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they say you should get at least 4 hours in the delta state in order to really rejuvenate your body and your mind and everything else, because it's important to hit those states, because people that sleep like an hour at a time,
yeah,
they're not actually getting like fully rested.
Yeah.
You know, their brain is too active and it's needing to just slow down and shut off. And in theta is our favorite one, because theta is where all the brilliance and magnificent ideas come from. Theta is also something that can happen right before you hit delta, or then you come out of delta and back into theta. But theta is where super slow, but that's where like hypnagogic can happen. Theta is where like for instance, when you're extremely relaxed, like say when you're taking a shower at the end of the day and you're exhausted and you like, it's hard for you to get out of the shower because it's just so like relaxing, and you have like really good ideas. That's usually a theta state.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's a general idea of those. If you want more research, just look them up. You can find them anywhere.
Cool. Just didn't know. I mean, you hear some of these terms. And,
yeah. No, but theta is very big for like creatives. Theta is like a good one to be in for like when you're trying to create, whether it's writing, painting.
So you can listen to like tracks that induce that, is what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So like think of it like this, like the Buddhist monks, they chant.
Yeah.
And those chants will get you into one of those states. And like, have you ever heard of like Gregorian chants?
No.
So Gregorian chants, they hit something called the solfeggio frequencies. And I mean, that's really in-depth stuff. We'll touch briefly on it just to give everybody an idea. But I listen to solfeggio frequencies almost every night. And it just goes through like the elements of like your chakras. Do you know what chakras are?
I know it has to do with different states.
Well, it's like energy fields on your body. Like if we were to like look at our bodies in form of energy, they're apparently like, they're more than 7 chakras, but everybody knows the common 7 chakras. It's like the color of the rainbows, and you start from your the red, which is like your primitive instincts, like your I don't know how to explain it, but it's like the root. They call it the root chakra, right? And then you go to the orange, which is more for if you want to look it up, so we can give our listeners, a better idea of it. But chakras are supposedly energy fields that reside within the human body that can be out of tune and out of sync sometimes. And you sometimes have these ailments that, if you're off balance or the energy fields are blocked, you suffer. You have issues. So you want to give them a 101?
Yeah. So we have the crown chakra.
That's at the very top, yeah?
Yeah, correct. Let's see if we can kind of zoom in on that. So we have the crown chakra.
Here, start from here. It usually goes from the bottom.
Bottom up, okay. So the root chakra, at the very bottom, represents our foundation and feeling of being grounded. It's located at the base of the spine in the tailbone area. Emotional issues, survival issues such as financial independence, money and food, physical association, spine, rectum, legs, arms, circulatory system. So anything having to do with like career, money mindset, and sense of belonging.
Okay. So I guess I've always learned that it was more like when I said like primal instinct, it was just like that's where your want for like food and
like your
surviving.
things to survive.
Yeah, that's basically where it comes from.
That's where you relate that. I can see that for sure. The one right above that is the sacral chakra.
I can't go into depth on that. Go ahead.
Sexuality and pleasure. Our connection and ability to accept others and new experiences. It's located in the lower abdomen, about 2 inches below the navel and 2 inches in. Emotional issues related, sense of abundance, well-being, pleasure, sexuality, physical association to the reproductive organs, kidneys, bowels, and immune system. Right above that, we have the solar plexus chakra. This relates to personal power and ability to channel, our ability to be confident and in control of our lives. It's located in the upper abdomen and the stomach area. Emotional issues related, self-worth, self-confidence, self-esteem. Physical association, the central nervous system, pancreas, liver, digestive tract, and skin.
All right. So we don't got to go through all of them, but I think we should definitely hit on like the third eye, because that's the one that a lot of people will have some form of knowledge on. And the third eye basically is, what do you call it? The Muhadra or something like that? Does it have it? The
Anya?
Indian? Oh, the Anya.
Anya.
That's
Intuition,
weird.
sense of purpose, and direction in life.
That's weird, right?
Yeah.
That's weird, because I had just told you that Anya was a third eye, but then we looked it up that one time and it was called the Muhadra. You remember? Because you got the acupuncture thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was right that it was the Anya that
Yeah.
was the third eye. Because
Yeah.
I was like, I could have sworn it was called the Anya,
Yeah.
just third eye. But anyway, sorry, we digress. Yeah, that's the one that's like big on like intuition and like feelings.
Wisdom, imagination, ability to think and make decisions.
Yeah, it's kind of like the eye that you don't see physically, but
Yeah.
it resides behind your actual eyes. Yeah. So,
It's how we see the big picture, our ability to focus on and see the big picture, which makes sense. You know,
I mean,
it's like it's an intuitive thing.
yeah. I mean, I never understood that band name, Third Eye Blind. I really didn't. I never associated it. And I was like, Third Eye Blind. Oh my goodness. Not until I got into this stuff, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, they're
So what you think like your average person is?
Yeah, they're third eye
eye
blind. Yeah. So, no, it's really cool. So, anyways, the solfeggio frequencies kind of follow something similar to this. And where every chakra, there's a certain frequency that activates it and kind of like supercharges it. Because at the end of the day, the goal of your energy body is to get all of those chakras charged up and aligned and in sync. And when they're all synced up, you're in the state of oneness. And like, that's where like, I used to do this meditation where, and again, it was Dr. Andrew Weil, and he would have you go through these, basically, I wouldn't say chants, but you would basically use the vowel sounds in order to trigger your chakras. And at the end of them, the last sound to connect them all would be the Om sound.
The Om sound.
Om. Everybody do it with me. Om. It's, if you do it, you feel the vibration that your body's, you know, kind of going through. It's a really...
And it's supposed to have like what, a healing effect?
It's not only just like a healing effect, but it also just calms you down. Like, you know, there'd be times where if I was anxious going into work or wherever, I would just randomly hit an Om sound. And I'd just be like, Om, you know, while driving. And I always felt better after doing it. So I always, you know, stayed in it.
So brief little definition of the solfeggio frequencies. They are part of the olden 6-tone scale believed to have incorporated sacred music, inclusive of the famous and beautiful Gregorian chants. The unique tones and chants are found to impart spiritual blessings when they are played harmoniously. Every solfeggio tone comprises Every solfeggio tone comprises frequencies necessary for balancing energy, keeping the spirit, mind, and body in a perfect form of harmony.
Yeah. So, you want to go over the different hertz?
Yeah. So we have the 396 hertz for liberating one from fear and guilt.
Mm-hmm.
The 417 hertz frequencies for facilitating change and undoing situations. The 528 hertz for miracles and transformations like DNA repair.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
The 639 hertz frequencies for relationships and reconnecting. The 741 hertz solfeggio frequencies for getting solutions and expressing themselves. The 852 hertz frequencies for returning one to a spiritual order, and the 963 hertz solfeggio frequencies create room for oneness and unity.
Wow.
Which one are you more familiar with?
I usually listen to I listen to them all, but I always start out with the root chakra, which is trying to liberate myself from guilt and fear. That's just where I start.
The common destroyers of man.
Mm-hmm. Fear, man. It's either fear or love. Those are the only two real emotions. Everything else stems from them.
Seriously. So. But, and you listen to them
on a
daily?
I listen to them on a daily, but then if I, for whatever reason, make excuses, don't listen to them. Or if I just feel like a lot of mind chatter, or like, when you have a day where I know I'm not the only one, but like it's like your self-confidence and your self-esteem is kind of lower than normal, and you start feeling like, instead of feeling happy for someone, you kind of feel like envious, and then you start looking like self-deprecating, and you're like, man, why am I like so behind? And once that starts to happen, like a lot of people just ride into it, and they're just like,
they soak in it.
Yeah, and it's just pure like negative. Just everything is like out of fear, That's when I'm like, I need to rebalance. I need to sync back up, because I don't feel right. Like I just feel like this weird sense of like unworthiness, and once I listen to it, you feel off. Once I listen to it, I'm like, okay, like my critical analysis of anything is kind of like out the door, and I'm like, all right, I remember how to feel now. Like, you shouldn't be, having like, be in your headspace all the time. You gotta be. You told
me more than once, like, don't, because it's natural to feel one of these like upset emotions, like, if you're having just a bad day at work, or just, something, I don't know, negative happen in your life. And you've told me like numerous times, like, Christian, like, change it now before it gets worse, because, and you'll hear that, like, when it rains, it pours.
Right.
And it's not something that you want to like keep attracting.
Correct. Because like, so for instance, you have a bad instance, and it's all about perspective as well. It's how you choose to interpret it, because say you miss out on a trip to Las Vegas, right? Last minute, and you're just like, man, that's terrible. Like, I was supposed to go do this and do that, and now I'm stuck, like, not doing it, right? And it's just all this negative, like, feelings just seep out of your soul. It could keep getting worse, and then one thing after the next could lead to, like, all of a sudden you get in your car and your car doesn't start, and you're like, F, man, like, what the heck? Like, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. But instead,
and it's almost like you're expecting it to get worse. That's the problem. Is like,
well, what else could happen? You say like what else could happen?
Oh God, I can't even tell you. And you've helped me more than once for sure, because like I'll have that in the back of my head, like, okay, if I don't change my mindset right now, I'm, and it's like, it goes back to like, you speak things into existence, right? Like, not that you're making it happen, but it's like you're legit attracting like negative energy, and you're welcoming it because you're already like soaking in it. And unless you're like, okay, just stop thinking like that, you have to turn it off. I know I do. You have to turn it off and just be like, all right, look, that happened. We're going to move on. You know?
Or then you could also look at it like as like I said, perspective wise, you could say like, maybe this happened because it prevented me from having something else happen.
Oh, for sure. Like everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
I know, we just experienced something really similar.
Hey, that's the whole basis of this show.
Yeah.
Is like,
The uncanny.
In order for this to have happened, so many other bad things had to happen. But again, are they really bad, or are they blessings in disguise?
Yeah.
That's what you really have to how you have to look at things.
For sure.
Because missing a trip to Vegas might have been like, oh, but I got to settle in and figure something else out. And then something led to something else that was more profound and more fulfilling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not always like...
No, like you said, it's perspective. It's how you view it, for sure.
Yeah. So, I listen to those pretty regularly. They help. And I always tell this to everybody as well. So you could be extremely tired and you can go to sleep and get 8 hours of sleep. And when you wake up, you still don't feel rested. But I could go to sleep and it might be for only 5.5 hours. But I'm listening to these soundtracks, these tones, and I'm like on it and I have no problem.
Yeah.
And then somebody else is like, what? How are you operating like that? And it's not because of, caffeine or anything like that. It's because the sound is affecting my overall well-being more so than just sleep. So when I would meditate, I'd always tell everybody that the feeling you get when you wake from a meditative state, whether it be from sleep, because I always meditate right before bed, or then if I take like a daily nap, I'll meditate instead of just napping, right? And I'm telling you, like, when I wake up, I feel like I always say that scene from Wanted. Was it Wanted, the one with James McAvoy, where they curve the bullet?
Yeah. Angelina Jolie.
Yeah. So there's a scene where like he gets beat up and then they throw him in this healing bath where he's just like in this covered in like this porcelain thing.
Yeah.
And he breaks out of it and he's just like, oh my gosh, like it just, and it cracks and it's like his whole body's rejuvenated. When I meditate and I get super deep, that is like when I lift my body or my leg, it feels like it just crackling, like a relief crackling, like rejuvenated, blood's flowing perfect. Like I feel great. I feel like, it's like, why doesn't everybody do this? Like, it's not like some secret,
No, I think it's that some people are intimidated by the idea of it. I know I was when you first tried to get me to, start like learning about meditation, and it's intimidating because you don't know if you're doing it right. I know, like, it's hard for me to like turn my brain off. That's the biggest thing for a lot of people.
A lot of people will say that. They're like, I just can't stop the mind chatter. Yeah.
And I think at first, like, it's okay to just like start somewhere, even if you can't turn it off, and just like, just listen to what you're like what are the thoughts that you're having at that current time? Like what is your inner self telling you at that moment? And you're just learning how to deal with it, And then I think slowly over time, you can like kind of just calm it, soothe it, quiet it.
And when you quiet it, it's like, it is really nice because when you quiet your mind, you'll also still have very weird experiences. Like I would have been like, just completely in a relaxed state, and I'm like if I pay attention to my thoughts, I'm like, what? I always
like, what am I even thinking about right now?
Why is there a lady with a trumpet in my thoughts? And like, that doesn't even make any sense, like,
yeah,
it's really bizarre. But that's when you know that you completely like let go of everything, like anything like having to do with your everyday, your day-to-day, your worries. Because when you get those random thoughts, that is basically like, right before you go to sleep and you have these weird dreams and you're like, what? That didn't make any sense. Like, I wasn't thinking that, right? So your mind is just wandering. But you yourself, you're like not thinking about your day to day, which is the goal.
Exactly. Like I think I told you, I'm trying to get my mom into like meditation, and I think she could really benefit from it. I mean, she, co-runs a house with, lots of things like, the kids and, chores and errands, and she's responsible for a lot of people, and her day is just go, 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 go. And I'm like, Mom, like, you need to calm down. Like, try meditating, and she's never done it before, but, I think she's open to the idea, but she just, I'm trying just to get her to understand that, like, you just need to slow down for, you know, even just like this small window, like take 30 minutes or an hour out of your day to just like slow down, calm down, and basically relax. And that's the goal, I think, you know, just to like stop this like constant like rushing that we're so used to it. Like it's become like routine, robotic at this point that we're just like, okay, gotta get this done. And we forget to like take time to ourselves to reflect, especially show gratitude. And that's what I had to explain to her. Like, you know, I know we have tons of stuff to complain about, but just like you have a list of things to complain about, you have a list of things to be grateful for.
Exactly. Like, if you think you have it bad, somebody else has it 100 times worse.
Yeah.
So take time to practice reverence, you know, and that's really just being grateful for the smaller things. It doesn't even have to be like a big thing. It could be like, man, my feet work. I can stand up. I can, you know, like it's those little tiny things. That's those like little attitude of gratitudes that you put out there. It just, you know, you have to do it.
That's exactly what I told her.
Yeah.
Just show gratitude. But
yeah. And I mean, if we go back to like where it all began, because obviously I didn't just go and stumble upon like meditation tracks, right? But actually I did, sorry. I did stumble upon it. And I went through a pretty dark time during my my late teens and into my early 20s. Those were some of my darkest moments in my life. And you know, I always wore a happy face like every day, so nobody knew, right? Nobody actually knew what I was going through. But the one time that like I got a gift that changed my life, and you know, I don't quite know if this person knows like how pivotal and how.
Did you tell them? Like,
yeah, I did. I mean, I've mentioned it over time, but I remember so I used to, when I got into the whole binaural beats and listening to music, I always remembered like you have to use headphones, and I'd always buy like these like Sony earbuds from Best Buy for like $20 or $25, and they'd always break. And one day my brother was like, "Why don't you buy the warranty on them so you could just walk in and switch them out?" And I was like, "Oh, that's a great idea."
Genius.
So we went through like 3 pairs in like 6 months. That's how often they would break. They were super cheap. And it was like coming on like November, like right before or after Thanksgiving. My brother and I walked into a Best Buy, and I think he was maybe like 16 at the time or maybe 17. And, you know, we were kids. We didn't make that much money. I was probably like 23 at the time. And I wasn't a kid, but, you know, I was still a kid.
You're still a kid.
And I remember we went by the earbud section, and I was like, oh, man, they're carrying Shure products, right? Shure is like the top of the line, you know, microphones, amplifiers, like anything sound related. Yeah. Shures were, you know, the bomb. And my little brother, he saw how excited I got, and I was like, dude, these earbuds are $270. Sound isolation. They were wired. And I was like,
that's pricey for today. I'm not going to lie.
No, trust me. Back then, it was like really pricey. Yeah, and my brother was like, do you want it? And I was like, shut up. Come on, dude. Like, really?
What a good brother.
I was like, you have $300 to drop? He was like, yeah, I'll buy them for you. And I was like,
my heart.
I was like, nah, dude, nah. He's like, I'll get them for you.
Damn,
you know?
Dude.
And he got them for me basically for like, I wouldn't say for Christmas, but for Christmas because we're so close to it. And I remember putting them on, and I was like, oh my God. My reaction was, I was speechless because of how amazing the clarity, the bass, the sound was so good. And my meditation elevated. I mean, I was entranced every night, and I can't even express like my gratitude to my brother for having done that because it was life-changing. That was a year that like a lot of good things happened to me. I built a lot of self-confidence. I let go of a lot of guilt and self-doubt. It was life-changing. And it's silly because those headphones only lasted 7 or 8 months because the wiring broke. I remember wearing them when I had just started my first year at, of university. And I remember...
That's longer than the previous headphones you were wearing lasted, right?
I mean, yeah, they were.
So that's pretty good.
But the funny thing is the receipt that we had, they couldn't exchange it for us. It was too late.
You didn't get the warranty?
We didn't get the warranty
from the first time.
We should have got the warranty on this because I was like, they can't break. They're expensive,
But I guess you were using them quite a bit.
All the time. Yeah. I slept with them.
Oh, yeah.
I slept with them, Yeah. But they were life-changing. And,
Sure, we are open to sponsorship if you want to sponsor this.
Hey, we already got headsets.
We already got you covered on the headsets. So.
But no, they were great, Other than the fact that they wore and tore, they were great, sound-wise. I listened to so many... I felt that was the moment where I was on college campus walking from class to class, and I was like, I am in a movie. I'm in a movie. Like, everywhere I was walking, I was like, with the headphones on, I was like, I'm in a movie because...
Got my own soundtrack going.
The soundtrack it felt like it was the sounds. There were sounds that I had never heard before in music because it was so distinct.
Wow.
And separated so much that I was like, these are the bomb.
Yeah.
These are so good.
I love like 8D audio tracks.
Yes.
Oh my! If you have not listened to 8D audio tracks, Anderson introduced me to that as well.
Yeah.
It's so trippy. It's crazy. That surround.
Yeah.
That surrounding sound.
But if you ever get a chance, listen to solfeggio frequencies. You can find it. It's so easy now. On YouTube, there's a lot of people that have developed their own, solfeggio frequency tones and different hertz frequencies that you can listen to. And I've done stuff for like sore throats or, stomach aches, and they've all pretty much not curing you, but they help aid it in relaxation. Yeah. All right. So
that was a good one, man.
Yeah. Definitely to all the listeners, if you're looking for some relaxation techniques, meditation, poor man's way of meditating. No, not poor man. Lazy man's way of meditating. You don't got to sit on one of those little pillows and then try to quiet your mind naturally. You can sync yourself up.
And they're so available. Like YouTube has a ton of them.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's tons of apps too. So
yeah,
they're pretty easy to find. If
you use our code enter111 on Calm, you can get a 30-day
Calm, feel free to sponsor us on this week's episode.
Just kidding. Anyways, we appreciate y'all listening, and tune in for the next episode. And please remember to follow our socials.
Don't forget to follow us at enter111, ENTER, the number 1, and the word 11, ELEVEN. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram,
TikTok.
all those good ones. TikTok for sure. So don't forget to follow us.
All right.